Episode 1 of Maxton Hall Season 2 starts with Ruby thinking about her time with James in Oxford. Let's just say she's still reveling in the embers of their passion. However, as Ruby narrates, dreams can easily turn into nightmares. The scene then cuts to that of an accident and a woman running towards the overturned car would happen. We circle back to the day the students return to Maxton Hall. Ruby is excited to meet James at the school gates, but he's nowhere to be seen. Only the reliable Lynn is there, and she's excited to get the lowdown on everything that happened in Oxford. She notices that Ruby is distracted and suggests that maybe James is running late because he had to explain why he missed some interviews. A few steps away, the boys from the lacrosse team discuss their next game and drinking plans. One of them mentions James, wondering where he is. They thought he was with Ruby and are surprised to see her alone. Director Lexington summons Ruby to his office to discuss the opportunity for her to organize the Campbell annual charity gala. Ruby is a big fan of the philanthropist but is uncertain she can pull it off with everything else going on. Lexington reminds her that if she wins the chance, it will help not only the school but Ruby as well. He encourages her to apply and gives her the necessary documents to fill out within 2 days. As the day drags on, Ruby gets anxious with James being out of reach. She asks Alistair to check on James after training. At home, Ruby's mom worries that she's taking on too much. However, Ruby insists she can do it as long as she concentrates. Amber starts teasing her about James. A car pulls up outside and assuming it is James, Ruby runs to greet him. It turns out to be Lydia, looking for James. As she talks to Ruby, she gets a call that they found James. Ruby insists on tagging along since Lydia refuses to tell her what's going on. They end up at a party where Ruby finds James busy getting drunk. He ignores her and starts making out with Elaine. The sight of the betrayal is too much for Ruby to bear, and she runs away. She gets a lift from another party guest and goes straight to her room. Obviously, Ruby is devastated and spends the next day locked in her room. Her parents and Amber try to get her to eat, but she refuses. In her anger, she tears up the portrait James gave her and throws away his jacket. Meanwhile, James wakes up with a nasty hangover. He starts recalling the events of the previous night. Mortimer asks Lydia to get James back in his right mind. He is pissed that James is in no position to talk to press waiting outside. In the end, Lydia and Mortimer talk to the press, putting up a united front. James remains in his room, getting high, drinking, and trying to ignore his pain. Lydia begs him to get it together, but James is not in the mood to appease their dad. After the press conference, news of Cordelia's death spreads rapidly. Lynn visits Ruby and breaks the news to her. She and Ruby rush to the Beaufort mansion to offer their condolences. Ruby finds James in his dark room and comforts him. James is happy to have her there, and for a while, Ruby forgets his betrayal. That is, until she sees Elaine's sweet message popping up on his phone. She gets up to leave, but James begs her to stay, say Elaine meant nothing. He acknowledges his mistake and continues to beg for her. Ruby is broken seeing him like that and asks him to get help. When she refuses to stay, James loudly kicks her out. Ruby returns to her home and locks herself again in her room. At the Beaufort mansion, Mortimer comforts James, promising they will always be a family. The next day, Lynn calls Ruby to remind her about the application to organize the Campbell Gala. She reminds Ruby that she had a life before James, and she needs to remember her strengths. Ruby gets to work and starts filling out the application. She likens what she and James are going through to the journey of a butterfly. Finally, Ruby is ready to break out of the cocoon, spread her wings, and enter a new phase of life. The scene intertwines with Cordelia's funeral, where James looks lost. Ophelia, Cordelia's sister, introduces herself to James and Lydia. Mortimer tries to kick her out, but Ophelia reminds him that she will fight for her sister's kids. At the same time, James and Lydia realize there's more to the family rivalry than they thought. James takes Ophelia's side, and Mortimer sees this as a sign of betrayal. He tells James that Cordelia was right when she said James was a disappointment. In a moment of anger and despair, James storms off and steals a car. Lydia runs after him, but he's too fast. James drives off in a terrible mental state. He tries to call Ruby, but she misses his call as she's busy at school. The episode ends with James getting into a serious accident.